Welcome to Ish I Saw on TikTok. In this series, we look at TikToks and some stitched responses where something very prevalent in dating today is discussed. Then finally, I'll provide my commentary at the end of just me being myself, unfiltered and unadulterated. Hi, I'm Janelle, the relationship coach behind The Successful Invisible. I work with successful, savvy, wonderful, professional Black women, single professional Black women who are 35 plus and are seeking just better dating options and have no clue where to start. Check out my links below if you're interested in working with me one-on-one or in a group coach setting. The goal of exploring some of these TikToks is to spark discussion and help you to develop more awareness, including self-awareness, in some of the patterns you've either engaged in or allow in your own dating life. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe.
A lot of people see my situation and not think that I'm not high functioning.
What situation?
Okay, so I'm not married. I have beautiful children.
How many?
8.
By how many women?
3. And this is the kicker. I want more.
By multiple women? What's the intent?
I just want God
by
to
your
bring
wife?
them. I just want God to bring them.
Oh, okay.
My desire to get married is lower than my fear of divorce. So, as you had said, Dr. Brian, you said it, I didn't say it, I will agree. I'm just taking my time.
You're not taking your time.
I am, though.
You're being very action-based. You're not taking your time.
I'm taking my time.
You're being very action-based. You have 8 kids with 3 different women.
Yes.
You are creating, procreating, and multiplying. That is not taking your time. You're being very selectively active, okay? So you're creating, in disclaimer, the kids are innocent, they are beautiful and amazing. Anything I say has nothing to do with them babies. But you are proactively choosing where you want to be active at and where you want to take your time. You want to take your time in having a wife because of your own fears. But you will, and I say this with all respect and love, what I'm about to say next, okay, Cam? But you will selfishly create broken families, even if you're in their life and you're a proactive father, and I believe you're an amazing daddy. I can only imagine with just your presence and knowing you. But these families are still broken. Every child cannot have Papa in the house with them. So some child, if not all, will end up with some kind of deficit without daddy being there. Now, you chose to do that. I'm not saying you sat there and woke up one morning and said, I want to be selfish today, so I'm going to go make a baby. Not saying that at all. But those are selfish acts at the expense of your fear. And yeah, that is a low functioning behavior. To say that I'm going to build these houses and put kids and these beautiful women and kids in them, but I ain't going to create a home in them. I'm going to wait till I dissipate my fear to find a wife where I'm still going to be fearful with, because there's no such thing as not having some type of nerve or some type of feeling behind marrying somebody. And then I'm going to build a home with her while all these other beautiful babies have houses. That's completely unfair and that's selfish. And so, yes, you're taking your time in this department, but you're not taking your time in this department, which means you're compartmentalizing. And compartmentalizing never works. Compartmentalizing hurts everybody involved. Everybody who's in this box and that box and this box and that box and this box. And then here you go over here trying to figure out what box you're gonna feed or entertain or do. Then you're looking outside to figure out who's your next victim to put in the box. It's unhealthy.
NBA young boy, Nick Cannon, Cam Newton. I'm going to start with the black men because I'm always on the hill for them, so they should be first in this accountability. So there's this interview with Cam Newton going around with his doctor, talks about the amount of children he has and the baby mother. And let me say this. No matter how much money you have, how good of a father you are, if you are going around habitually and consecutively making children with women that you don't want to be with long term, that you're not prepared to marry, that you don't want to be tied to in a romantic sense long term, though you are not a deadbeat, you are not being a good father to your children. You are creating a deficiency and a void in their life intentionally and unnecessarily. That is not okay. I understand that you might have your own traumas or unresolved issues with relationships, commitments. That's still no excuse for the actions that you've taken. And despite your socioeconomic position, having enough money financially to take care of children does not give you the right to systemically make children in multiple broken homes just because you can. Now, women, I want y'all to hold some accountability in this as well. Y'all are so desperate to be provided for, to be princess treatments, for the soft life, for the stuff you see on Instagram, that you hold a big part of responsibility in this too. It's the reason that you're so arrogant to think that you shouldn't have to go 50-50 with a regular working man. It's the reason why you think, even with all your education and the money that you make, that your money is yours and a man should be able to provide for you solely while you give no financial input into this relationship. That's why rich men think that they can make you baby mothers without making you wives. And that's why you go for it. Because you're so money hungry and have such an unhealthy relationship with money, whether you grew up in poverty or your daddy was rich or whatever it is, you bear some responsibility in this as well. And it is disgusting on both ends. The money relationship that the community has, the rationale depending on how y'all make it acceptable, depending on the socioeconomic position of the person. But both genders of this race bear responsibility for the continuous broken home pandemic that we're going through, or epidemic, I'm sorry. Because y'all just so money focused and will accept anything if the check is right.
I'm gonna be honest, it's not a hard concept to understand that if you as a man, you have a child with someone, or you have 8 kids with 3 or 4 different baby mamas, and then you still want to get married to someone that is not one of the parents to your child, it is not hard to understand that yes, that is technically a broken home. It's not hard. We as men talk about how important it is that kids have their fathers in their life, but then when we talk about a broken home, all of a sudden we're like, no, it's not a broken home because I provide for my kids financially, provide for my baby mamas, I give my baby mamas homes, I give my baby mamas money. As we all know, there is so much more to being a father than just providing shelter, providing finances, and being there for your kids some of the time. First off, if you have 8 kids by different women, there's no way you can be there for all those kids equally. You will spread yourself thin. You will have to miss some occasions, especially during graduation season. What about those nights where you want to be with dad because you had a bad dream? What about those nights where you want to come home for school or wait for dad to come home and tell them how great your dad was, but your child can't do that because dad's with his other family? I understand I'm not a father. I understand that I'm not a parent, but I understand where that therapist was coming from, and she was more than right. There's so many things, little microscopic things that you can miss if you have a bunch of different kids by a bunch of different women, that your money, your resources will never be able to fix within that child.
So just to be able to touch on the Cam Newton and Nick Cannon situation, and like the psychologist, the therapist, or whoever she was, she makes a lot of valid points that need to be talked about, right? Like, and one is high earning does not mean high value. Having resources does not make you a high value man or woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, that has to be discussed more, because a lot of people feel like, all right, once I get the money, once I get the status, I'm automatically high value. That's not the case. High value has to do with your morals, your integrity, like the way that you carry yourself, your character, and
Let's
those
jump
types of things.
into my favorite
You know
part
what I'm
of
saying?
all of the content I post
Another
on
point
YouTube. And that's
is that
just
I
my
think
thoughts,
that
where I
don't be
get
talked
to
about enough
kind of
is
express what
the
I
lack of
feel
visual
about whatever
representation.
we have read or gone
Like,
over.
we
So
haven't
let's get into
seen
it.
enough successful black relationships and marriages, and they've all been intertwined with believing that neglect and toxicity, dysfunction, and abuse is all a part of love. That is not true. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times we've seen these relationships end tragically. That's enough to scare somebody out of wanting to actually like fully commit, and it scares you because like, yeah, like I give my heart to somebody and boom, like that shit don't work out. Like a lot of people don't know how to deal with that pain, and they seen people not be able to deal with that pain, not be able to recover. You know what I'm saying? So we have to literally like deconstruct that notion of neglect, abuse, and dysfunction being a part of love. Another point that she made is the fact that like a lot of these broken homes are being created because of broken people, broken men, especially because those are the ones that she's talking to. Like these men are broken. They are not healed. And they hide that unhealed brokenness in the fact that they have the money, the status, the resources. You know what I'm saying? Because you sitting up there and you procreating and you're creating all of these broken homes. Like you want the family, right? You create the family, but like you not being present in the lives of the children and the woman that you created these families with are literally like alleviating you of the actual burden of having to actually be there, be proactive, and show up for these kids day in and day out. And I'm saying that because like I've been one of those broken men that created broken homes. I've done it. You know what I'm saying? I made a promise to myself that the next kid that I have is going to be with my wife and it's going to be done the right way. Period.
I was going to write a long post on Instagram because I usually do, but I don't feel like I'd rather just talk. So I am so happy that Cam Newton had that interview with that doctor. I don't know what type of doctor she was, what her practice, whatever. But I'm so happy that he had a conversation with her. The part that made me the most happy is the fact that she told him the whole truth. Respectfully, but she told him the whole truth. Because Cam Newton was like, look, you know, people think I'm low functioning, however, you know, he describes that, because I'm not married yet, but I got, you know, 8 kids by 3 baby mamas. I want 3 more. And she asked him like, well, how many more baby mamas you want? He like, I just want some kids. I just want God to give them to me, whatever, right? But like most men, he's very unaware of the effect that this has on his children. You know, because he said, you know, I'm taking my time. I'm just kind of taking my time trying to make the right choice. She was like, no, you're very much active. Not only are you active, but it's a very selfish act. Because he thinks, because listen, just like a lot of men, I got the money, I take care of my kids. And with him being in a great position, being an ex-football player, he got the money to do it. He take care of all his kids, probably even a baby mama, all that type of stuff. And so he thinks, listen, that's enough. I take care of my kids. Everything is squared away. But you don't realize, which a lot of men do not realize, and I'm not beating up on men because if you know me, I'm a men's advocate, also a men's coach, and a men's consultant. But what most men don't realize is that it affects the children very much. It doesn't matter if they have all the clothes that they need, if they have a great network, if they go to all the best schools, if they're connected to all the famous friends' children, all of this type of stuff. What they need is their daddy, their father, living in the house with them. Why? Because a father does so much. All the time, we see men, and a lot of us men, our fathers have been in the same predicament. You know, they think just having the money is enough. As long as you are taken care of financially, or as long as I'm in your life, even if I'm in and out of your life, or it's not just constant, I'm there, so I'm parenting you. I'm a good dad. Or as long as I'm taking care of things financially, everything is squared away, but that's not the truth. Your child needs you in the home. Why? Because everything is not supposed to just fall on the mother. There's so much for the man to do. As a father, you need to be imparting identity into your children so they have a healthy self-esteem. You need to be there to discipline them. Also, nurture them at times. Also, they want your wisdom. They want your advice. They want to be around you. Your children want to glean from you. They want to be like you in ways. They want to know that anytime I needed my daddy, I could just go upstairs and he was there. I could just go to the room or whatever, but my daddy was always around. When I had a nightmare, I could run into my father's arms. When I was troubled, when I needed advice, when I needed wisdom, I could run to my father. When the kid is sick or when the kid is troubled, usually it's only the mother in the house with the kid. So now what happens? Now the mother is sick trying to take care of the kid while the kid is sick. And now she got to make sure the kid gets to school, make sure she get to work, make sure all of these things are taken care of when daddy should have been there to aid and assist in taking care of his child, not just the weekend or this semester or this year or this summer, but the day to day, the every day of their lives. And so I'm so happy that she had this conversation with him, because it annoys me how oftentimes on the internet we see these conversations happening between famous people or people that's big on social media or whatever, and nobody really corrects those notions in interviews and different things like that. But I'm not dumb. I know how business works. I know how social media works. A lot of times it might be some people that talks to them after the show that says, hey man, I want to teach you how this is supposed to go or how this should look, because some people might be like, listen, we on the radio right now. This is an interview. This is for business. We're not going to mess up the business or the relationship. That's how you run your house. That's how you think. Cool. But that's not how I do mine. Or a lot of times you just have people listening to them be like, right, yeah, I feel you. And it's like, no, you need to tell them, forgive me because I'm so passionate about this because of what I do. We need them to know the truth wholeheartedly. So no, it's not cool for you to have this baby mama, that baby mama, that baby mama, because just because they have money and you have money to take care of them, even for eons, and they squared away for at least 10 years, you need to understand that a broken home can be present whether you have a whole bunch of money or a little money. It's not just a poverty or a broke thing, or so to speak, or whatever. You can still have a broken home when your child or you have enough money or are even rich. Why? Small example. I bet a lot of people can attest to the fact that their father have lived with them or is a part of their life, but they weren't a very present, active father in their life. And so there's a lot of chaos, craziness in the home. A lot of us have a lot of different stories, but nonetheless, it is very imperative that as a man, as a father of your child, that you look to create a stable home for your children. If you want 8 kids, 9 kids, 10 kids, I want a lot of kids myself. 1, 2, 3, build a home. Don't just think I'm gonna have a baby here. And I get it, but that's an immature mindset. It's an immature lifestyle, because again, nobody has really taught us things the proper way. Even our fathers and the people before us, they didn't know any better, so they just taught us what they knew. But we need to move the correct way. Your kids don't just want to see mommy and everything. If they're dancing, if they're singing, if they're playing violin, whatever, they want to see daddy come to the recital too. They want to see daddy come to the practice too. They want to see daddy come to their games too. They want to see their father heavily involved in everything they're in. You don't think little kids do something and then they constantly ponder, just like you might have, where's my father? Where's my dad? Or it might be different if you didn't have your father around, so you just was like, okay, I'm waiting for my mother, my grandmother, whoever, or nobody shows up. But as a kid, you want your daddy to be at your games or be at your recital, all of these things. So we have to take account of this. And so to see this as a good man makes me happy, because much respect to Cam Newton. I'm an ex-football player. So there are men that are looking up to men like him, and even other men just listening to what they have to say, and they're holding on to these ideas and ideologies and they're living by them. But we need to know the truth. We need to know what's most healthy and what will bring us the most benefit in our lives, rather than doing something that just brings you pleasure in a certain time of your life. And to all the brothers who probably aren't, and to all my brothers who are probably already in situations like this, where you are already have a broken home here, there, or one or three, or whatever the case may be. This is not something to hold over your head so crazy and beat yourself up about. This is information so that if you didn't know, now you can move forward and make better choices. You live and you learn. What's done is already done. The best thing to do is now move forward and look towards the mark of making a solid home, spending time with your kids, being more involved in their life, participating more in their life, and seeing where you can be a better dad. But again, I'm a man's advocate, so ain't no beating down here. Just look at your life and see where you can be better man, a better father, a better person, and just move forward, because the past is the past. Gotta look forward to the future.
I don't really get on here and talk, but I've been seeing clips of the Dr. Brian, I think that's her name, that's her last name, and then Cam Newton situation. I ain't really watched it in depth, but I seen clips of it on here. And I just want the guys that are 22, 21, 23, in their 20s, teenage years, take the time to understand yourself emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Stop trying to put the money first. Stop trying to figure out, what can I do to get some more money? Because as guys, we already gonna do that. That's something we automatically gonna do. And then you come around these women that want you to support them and do all this other bullshit. So now it puts you in a more of a mindset of, how can I get this money? If you elevate within yourself, you're going to elevate in life, period. Because, for example, a woman, when they're going through some shit in their personal life, if some shit they got going on, they gonna identify it and they gonna take action immediately, because they know what's gonna come from it. They know they gonna grow in some aspect of their life, and it's gonna benefit them in the long run. Niggas want to think about all this other shit, but they don't want to take the time to really think about why they do certain things, why they think a certain way, why they tend to do the things that they do. They don't want to think about that shit when we're human. At the end of the day, we're human. You have to elevate within yourself, because once you do that, it's going to come at the end of the day. So just take the time to be more aware of your emotions. Be more aware of who you are and how you think, especially when it comes to relationships, but not even just relationships, for your own good. Like, do that for yourself. And I'm going to also say, the things that you went through as a kid, it's a reason why you act the way you act, or why you do certain things that you do. Those traumas you went through, you have to identify those, take the time to learn from them, and put them into your current life. You feel what I'm saying? You have to learn from them. You have to take the time to understand, why are these things I went through make me who I am right now? And how can I change? How can I elevate from that space? Because at the end of the day, you can't just throw that shit in the corner and act like that ain't happened. You have to take the time to understand the things you went through as a kid when you ain't had your father around, or things going on with your mother, or whatever the case may be. You have to take the time to identify that, learn from it, elevate, because it's going to help you.
All right, so I see everybody talking about it on TikTok. And the interview with Dr. Bryant and Cam Newton. She's very intelligent, and she's very intentional about what she says. She's such a smart woman, you know. I have no bad things to say about the interview. She's just breaking everyone down and simplifying it as much as she can. And a lot of times when you come from where these people that she's talking to come from, it's sort of lifestyle that they've been maintaining, that they've been getting away with. But she's giving them another perspective on low functioning and who's really the problem here. Because obviously when you in it and when you doing X, Y, and Z, you feel as if you're not the problem. And especially when you got millions of dollars and you feel like the money is going to be able to, you know, do a numerous of things. But it's a lot of shit that money just can't do when you're a father and when you know what I'm saying, and when you got a family of 5 or plus. But I watched the interview. I'm going to stream it when I'm on my Twitch. Follow me on there, One Revels. And we're going to talk about it more. But I think she's very intelligent. She's very beautiful. And she knows what she's talking about. That's just my take. Peace.
Cam Newton, I'm disappointed in you, man. And I know you don't know me from Adam. You don't give a damn what I think. And I understand that. But I'm so glad. I will give you this. I will give you credit for having such a smart, articulate woman on your show, Dr. Bryant, who so respectfully and smoothly and in a dignified manner just called you out on your nonsense. And to your credit, you know, you provided her the platform, and I think you stayed within yourself. You didn't show her disrespect. Like, so, you know, on one hand I could be disappointed, but on the other hand I could acknowledge that I do think it was solid of you to give her that platform, to share your platform with her, and you kept it really, you know, respectful and you know, professional throughout, even though clearly your feelings were hurt. Your feelings were hurt because she sliced and diced a little bit. But just as a father, I don't understand how you can be so nonchalant about having 8 children with 3 different women. Now, I get it. Things happen, right? You get married to somebody, you guys divorce. Okay, cool. Then you move on and you have another family and you have more kids. Maybe you have a kid in college or when you're in high school. So you have that one child when you're younger, and then as you grow up, you end up having a family. Unfortunately, you know, death happens. So right, you marry somebody, or even if you don't marry them, you have a child with somebody passes away. I am not against, you know, I'm not even saying that, you know, you're a bad person or a bad father if you have children with multiple women, because I understand context and I understand life happens. But that is not what we're talking about here. We aren't talking about life happening. We are talking about, and she said it way better than I can, but we are talking about you intentionally making the decision to have children by women who, you know, you really don't have any interest in being together with long term, right? So you're proactively like, I want kids, but I don't really want to be married. I want to take my time with the marriage part, but I want kids. So now you're in a position where you have all these children, and fortunately, yes, you have made a lot of money throughout your career. Kudos to you. You've earned it. You worked hard for it. So your kids won't go without financially. But like making that your bar for being a good father, being able to provide financially, is so shallow, right? And what's ironic, I saw so many things that were ironic to me. One, because I followed your career for a very long time. Plus, you've made mention of him many times throughout your life. Like the one story that you told about the grill and cutting your hair. I'm talking about your dad, Cam Newton's father. A prominent force, a consistent force. The ultimate example that you benefited from having him not just as your dad, but as a full-time dad who was there every step of the way in your life. That consistency, that consistent example, that person who poured into you, that held you to a high standard on a daily basis. you were the beneficiary of that fatherhood. That's number one. So you know firsthand how important it is to have a strong father in your life because you benefited from it. But then two, again, because I'm not trying to bash you, because on another hand, we've all seen it, how engaged you are, right, with young athletes, particularly young athletes of color, young boys, young men, right, with your flag football stuff and through your nonprofit. You do amazing work, which is why like I'm so baffled by your stance on this. But again, you do that, and I tip my cap to you. You do that because you want to be a role model, right? What kind of message are you sending to these young men when you then use, it's one thing for you to do this stuff, but now you use your big ass platform to promote that you do this stuff, right? So that bothers me. Like if you were some Joe Blow, like, okay, that's one thing, it's bad enough, but for you to do this, knowing you are such an influence to kids all throughout the world, right? Like, I just think it's a bad look. But that's not the irony that I'm talking about. That's just responsibility, right? You aren't taking your responsibility as a role model. I think you take it seriously, but it's just, you have a blind spot here with this because, you know, your actions are hypocritical of the words that you often share with these kids about accountability, responsibility, and all this stuff. But the irony in all this, what I was going to get to is, a lot of the kids that you are mentoring and being a role model to are fatherless. They have absent fathers. They have fathers maybe who never showed up, or they have those fathers that you probably are for your kids. You're not there for all the big events. You're there some of the time, but you're not there for all the big moments. You can't be with 8 kids, with 3 different people, 3 different households. Like, you just can't be there for everything. No matter how hard you try, you just can't do it. It's impossible, right? So my point is, the people who you have your flag football for, your nonprofit for, the biggest beneficiaries who you do it for are the kids who struggle or are, you know, who lack, you know, that consistent fatherly figure in their lives. So, you know, given the fact that you are the biggest beneficiary of having an amazing dad, Cecil, given your platform, right, in your influence, the example that you set, kids look up to you, given that, and then given the fact that you literally have a nonprofit and one of your goals is to help these children, and the reason why they need your assistance and they look up to you and you're their role model is because there is not a role model at the house. And then I can have so many more examples where I've seen you in different episodes. You've talked to women about, hey, you could be a great mom, but you can't be their dad. Like, you can't be a dad because there's certain things a dad can do that a mom can't. Like, so I just don't get it. It's like, and what you're doing, honestly, is you're diminishing your presence. You're diminishing it. You think, honestly, like, I just think you think, like, hey, even if you see your kids 100 times a year, and I doubt you do, but let's say you see your kids 100 days out of the year. Either you see them or you talk to them. That's still 265 days you're not there. Like, part-time. Like, and I don't know how you can explain that. And again, you're doing this intentionally. You're literally creating, as Dr. Brian said, intentionally creating broken homes. Make that make sense to me.
Let's jump into my favorite part of all of the content I post on YouTube, and that's just my thoughts, where I get to kind of express what I feel about whatever we have read or gone over. So let's get into it. All right, in watching this clip and then the subsequent commentary from men the clip, of course, actually that whole episode with Cam Newton and Dr. Bryant was kind of cringe to watch, but it was necessary. And I think it was uncomfortable because you could tell he had his ego punctured a little bit. And also, I really respect the way that she so tactfully and gracefully was able to address his ego. There did need to be ego stroking to go on if you saw the whole episode in order for her to get her point across. But in my opinion and the feedback that I've seen, especially from quite a few male creators on TikTok, is that, you know, they had a lot to say about Cam exemplifying many of the things that a lot of men, especially a lot of black men, feel is the point of it, which is, okay, I can get a lot of money and I've, you know, created these homes everywhere and it doesn't matter. What Cam doesn't get is you not being in the home active every day, getting up at 2:30 a.m. with somebody being sick and staying home from, you know, with them while they hack up their guests because they're sick at school, or being there for their first heartbreak, or being there for their first period. That's being an active everyday parent. He has created a plethora of broken homes. He has created 8 broken little lives through his selfishness, and he is in fact selfish. And I appreciate that the clips that I saw and the ones in this video are really showcasing other men saying this isn't the way. He's not a good father. He does seem very nonchalant about creating 8 different lives with 3 different women and how that is going to impact his children. I would like to see more of this conversation from men having it with other men. In this clip, this whole episode of the show, if you haven't watched it, I'll definitely recommend it. I will link it in the description box below to see the whole thing. Like I said, it's a little uncomfortable at points to watch because you can tell that she is challenging, but she is a doctor, so she knows how to do it with nuance and finesse. She's challenging his ego, and you can tell that he's uncomfortable. I don't think he's angry. I don't want to ever put that on him, but I definitely feel that his ego's a little bruised. He is a little annoyed, and he knows he has to keep up a certain way about him and the way he's addressing her, because she's a grown-ass woman, and she's a highly educated grown-ass woman, Dr. Bryant is. But I think these type of conversations need to be had where there are men who think, oh, I can just get the money and do what I want. Real talk, you have to really understand what you're doing it, why you're doing it, the place that this is coming from. And it really did bug me that Cam is okay and wants to go out and create even more broken homes and have even more kids. I definitely think there's something deeper there. Me personally, I think there's some trauma there, possibly CSA, that needs to be addressed, but I am not a, you know, mental health professional, but I think it would behoove him a lot to seek a therapist, specifically a black male therapist, that can help him work through whatever the deeper layers of this is, because he feels him having money equates to him, you know, being there for his kids. Having money to take care of your children is a necessary component, correct, but it's not the only component. And I do feel bad that his children are missing out on so much because of his nonchalance and his attitude, you know, toward creating all these lives with all these women and all these broken homes and all of this brokenness that is now in those children's souls. And also, you know, especially for Cam's one baby's mom, who has like 4 of his kids, you know, she is carrying so much, and she probably thought there was so much there with him that they were going to build and eventually get married. And I believe that's why she just kept having kids. I don't think she thought they wouldn't be together. In my opinion, I don't know their story. I don't know their business all like that. I'm just saying, as a rational person, I really believe she did that because she thought they were going to be together forever. She never necessarily thought, maybe toward the end she thought that, but she didn't go into this thinking, oh, I'm just going to be saddled, and I hate to say it like that, with all these children without him being in the home doing this, and he wants to go and create more. That is a very scary thought. So I would encourage you ladies to watch this whole episode, and I would encourage any of you have any male friends or relatives, especially if they, you know, have created broken homes, to watch it, because there is a message in it for everyone. And you could tell that there was definitely kind of a battle of wills between the two. Entertaining to watch, uncomfortable at times, but there was nothing negative or bad. So those are just my thoughts on the episode and how Cam Newton, like a lot of men who think like them just because they have the money, they need to get themselves all the way together. Thank you for joining me today for this episode of Ish I Saw on TikTok, Low Functioning Men, Part 1 of 1. Watch this video again and really take some notes on if you have dealt with this type of man or if you are dealing with this type of man. Because I think Cam Newton is a great poster child for so many situations that people are in today with who are parenting, dating, etc. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you're interested in working with me one-on-one, check out the links below. Also, check out my podcast, The Successful Invisible. Next season publishing soon on Apple, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. Until next time, this is your relationship coach, Janelle, signing off.